Welcome everyone to another episode of Arena STL here. Getting real close to the end of AFL season here. Just had Arena Mania 1 in the books, and then this coming weekend we have the IFL Championship held in Vegas. Joining me this evening, I got two guests here. Then they've been on the show before. Got Zach Keilman, and of course, associated here with the Field Sport Network, Kevin Womble Jr. of show with the Gridiron and the Jersey the King show. Welcome, gentlemen.
What's going on, Will?
Good to be
What's
on,
going
Will.
on, Zach?
Good to see you, Jersey.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Good to
good.
see you too, brother.
Yeah,
Definitely finally good to be on a show with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, right?
Yeah,
It's a blast, man.
yeah. First time I had two guests on at the same time here. Thought it was good to have both of you on. Both of you are like cover with it with indoor football and arena, especially with you, Kevin, being in Vegas
Sure.
with the Vegas Nighthawks, and now with the IFL Championship now set up for here for Saturday evening. Though before we get to the IFL Championship, I wanted to talk to you even though the Vegas Nighthawks were eliminated, how do you think the season go overall and prepare for next season for the Vegas Nighthawks?
I was overall satisfied with how the season turned out. Even though we didn't make the playoff or make it to the Western Conference Finals and possibly the IFL Championship, which we had an opportunity to be the first team in history to not only make it to the IFL playoffs for the first time in franchise history, but host your first round playoff game, host the Western Conference Finals game, and then turn around and host the national championship game. So big opportunity missed out on. But like Coach Mike Davis said, it was just about finishing. And we just didn't finish. When the big plays mattered during, and not just in, the playoff game, but throughout the season, in those losses, we just didn't finish like we did at the beginning of the season when we started off 7-0. So it was a good season for us. We've seen a lot of good things. Jerome Johnson had a record-breaking season, going for over 80 touchdowns, almost 1,900 yards, and as well as, I believe, almost 600 yards rushing on top of that. So he had an epic season, regardless of how it ended. If you noticed, we had a lot of players named to all IFL teams, and shout out to Bryce Hampton, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
Oh my God!
defensive rookie of the year. They announced that I don't think they announced the MVPs yet. So far was
No,
Bryce Hampton for defensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, Josh Jones from Northern Arizona Wranglers, and special teams player of the year, Gabriel Ryu. I think I misspelled his last name for the Bronze Stormers. So of course you got all the IFL with all the names and stuff. And one thing too is like I'm just glad that after the first week of the playoffs that there was some better streaming for those conference championship games. I will
yeah,
say a lot
Mhm.
better, and it was on the IFL's YouTube channel, and I just don't know what the heck happened. All I know is, like, as I said here on the show, I was just glad the Bay Area Panthers lost because people were saying it's just hard to do any type of transmission from the stadium they play in San Jose.
yeah.
I think I was surprised at just what happened in the first week of the playoffs the stadium deal. And credit, this isn't this isn't the 2022 setup or 2021 setup, mind you, where we're asking for crews and BEK is running the communications and whatnot. This is home crews sending the feed to stadium. It's on that setup
Hmm.
to make it work. And I got to give credit. The IFL, that's one thing I've always praised them. They do a great job of reaching out and kind of putting out public relations and keeping people in the know.
Yeah,
They took the blame on that, and that's something they got to work on. It's if there's one of the few things the IFL still is working on trying to get down is how to best do broadcast. And I know that is a tricky balance to have for a league that wants to have the best of a growing league while also not going overboard as past leagues have done.
right. And
Yeah,
then
it just
with the commissioner, publicly acknowledging they were at fault, taking full responsibility and promising that the next weekend we would get action on stadium. They did exactly what he promised, and you got to give them credit. The IFL has been one of the most sustainable leagues over the last several years when it comes to indoor or arena football. So you got to give them guys credit. You definitely got to.
Yeah, you do. Like at
Excuse me.
least they have leadership that said, "Hey, we messed up, but we're going to get better." And it's like, and unfortunately, some of the leagues that are no longer existent had that problem, or in some cases, merged into other leagues. That just depends
Hmm.
on how it goes. Of course, I think that's kind of funny because for the Arizona team, with of course, about the known franchise Arizona Rattlers that we all know through the arena football history because they started in the AFL and stuff. And funny thing is that Jersey covered them when they were in Vegas. Then luckily Zach was able to cover them on the conference championship and Arizona their place. And I
Yeah.
know that place was rocking.
Yes. Look, even with
Yeah.
having to adjust the schedule to make it work on a Monday night, because well, Hot Wheels monster trucks had to go off on over the weekend. No joke. That is one of the conflicts they had to deal with. But look, for a Monday night, I mean, I've been there. I've been there multiple times this year already. It's like any regular season game. They get a decent crowd in there at Desert Diamond Arena. Good atmosphere, and honestly, it helps when your defense is playing the way it is at this right moment in time. Not to say they haven't all year, but in particular, this 2-game stretch they've been on is impeccable, and it showed off once more
Yeah.
because the other storyline I had was, could Nate Davis pull off the revenge plot from several years prior? Remember, Duke City, one controversial OPI penalty, and we could be talking about what I was going to consider the merger bowl, or sorry, the expansion bowl with Massachusetts and Duke City. My dreams were crushed, but alas, Nate Davis, it was not meant to be. And that's thanks in part to what is an incredible secondary that the Rattlers possess that has kind of helped power not only all season
Yeah.
when there's been some lapses in offensive efficiency, but especially now with this stretch. And well, unfortunately, knocking out the Nighthawks was definitely due to some defensive efforts in
I
the
was just
second
gonna
half.
say that
Mhm.
secondary in the second half was key. That second interception by the secondary was really key, and that's really what put Arizona over the top. Plus, leaving time on, they were smart enough. The coaching staff was smart enough to recognize how much time was on the clock left, so they allowed Vegas to score, take that extra lead to be able to march down the field in enough time to score, because we all know that it doesn't take a long time in indoor or arena football to score. You got
No.
50 yards.
48
So,
seconds was plenty of time to get what you needed to end the
mhm,
game on your terms. Absolutely great
yeah.
observation there.
Yeah, and like you said, for Monday night, and I wrote down the attendances for those two conference games. Cause Green Bay and Massachusetts, they had a Friday night game, which is actually pretty good for arena football standard, 6,000 for them. But for a Monday night game, I remember going to a Monday night playoff game when the River City Raiders were here, and there were barely anyone there because of how late it was for Monday. Though, even though it was kind of fun, they did lose, but it was still kind of fun, even though it was just a little crowd there. And for Monday, because I have the attendance, 7,042 was the attendance. That ain't bad.
No, it's not. It's
At all.
a little on the lighter side by Arizona standards, but again, I mean, it was a rowdy crowd. I'm not going to complain, and quite frankly, they did their best with what they could for the situation. I mean, keep in mind too, you have 1 week to prepare. You're not certain that you're going to be there that next week. And again, as much as the Coyotes aren't at Desert Diamond anymore, you still have to work around some bigger ticket events that they already have pre-planned from most likely months out. And
Once,
again,
yeah, definitely.
that's definitely part of it. But see, again, solid crowd for a Monday night. And again, the Rattlers did what they needed to do to keep the crowd's energy in it all night and add on to pressure that was being put on the San Diego Strike Force. They never were in the
Definitely.
game, and the crowd was definitely part of that problem.
And if I remember that telecast, because Nate Davis was actually, I think one up for contention for MVP of the season. But like you said, the defense did not help his cause if he does become, because like I had the stats on the last show, 17 out of 38, 179,
Mm,
2 touchdowns, and the kicker 4 interceptions.
Two pick
To,
sixes for
mm.
those two,
yep,
even more so.
and only 14 rushing yards. And then of course, you got Arizona with Snead. Of course, Snead was a former quarterback for the Vegas Nighthawks. And I know I don't know, there was kind of like with the broadcast with the Vegas game, like kind of like maybe not total revenge, because I know because the coach went with the
He
younger
didn't
guy.
do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird. Like, even I was like, was there a revenge story? It's like they're putting up a story with this. I'm
Right.
like,
And I didn't understand that at all. When I got the media info in through email, I'm looking at it and I'm like, who is this guy? He's not even starting. Why does he matter? Then he comes in the game late in the game and does nothing. And I'm like, what was this story for? I just it was pointless because it didn't cause any more crowd to be there. No one cared. Um, we were there for that game because of the streak that Vegas was on, and the crowd
Mhm.
was there because of that. And then you got to imagine we have an opportunity. At that point in time of the season, we have an opportunity to make the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, be the number one seed, host the first home, host the first round playoff game, host possibly make it to the Western Conference Final and host that, and then again host the national championship game, which we still have an opportunity next year. Don't get us wrong, and I think we're going
Oh
to be
yeah.
better next year because we had
oh,
two rookies at the defensive back position who were just monsters,
Well,
but
hey,
two
you
rookies on our
know
team who led the league in interceptions,
well,
and
and you know
Bryce
how this
Hampton and
league, you know
JP.
how the IFL works here, and I don't mean to jump in the way I do, but like you mentioned a very important point. Rookie status for the contracts and for the fact that connections. Those two are so vital. You don't got to worry about balancing the veterans when you got rookie guys coming in that are only going to come in their second year of 3 years under the rookie status. So that is a great sign if you are the Nighthawks for next season. Who else can I find? Who are the rookie vets? I'm going to label them rookie vets because really they are vets after year one that they can bring back to help and keep a flow and keep kind of that veteran balance open. So maybe you can go for a bigger vet on the market possibly next year. You don't have to focus as much on trying to retain the best of those limited roster spots.
yeah.
Exactly.
Though I will say this, because with the opponent that Arizona faced, the Massachusetts Pirates, Massachusetts is another franchise, especially like in the newer age of arena football. They have like some type of pedigree. Though I was just shocked how Green Bay just played that game for the conference championship, because like even though they only lost 3 games, I was like, where the heck is this team's momentum? It just stopped. Like in the second half, I was like so confused. I'm like, this doesn't look like the Blizzard that I've been watching the past few weeks.
That's what I said. That's the main thing I said. Not to cut you off, Zach, but that was the main thing I said when I watched this game. I'm like, what is going on? Massachusetts is just taking pure control of a storm that's been running through the IFL. A blizzard, a complete blizzard. They've been a blizzard. They've lived up to their name the whole season. They really have, except for the minor hiccups in a couple of games. But they were the first team to get a playoff bid or berth. They were the first team to clinch home field advantage in the playoffs weeks before any other team. Like literally 2 weeks before any other team, the Blizzard were sitting pretty with 10 wins. They're looking back at everybody like, hey, yeah,
I mean,
just
freaking
being a
coasting, man.
storm, being a whole storm on the league. And then they had the couple hiccups, 3 games, and then they still made it to the playoffs. But Massachusetts said, no, no, no.
Yeah, like before I get your input, Zach, because I have to remind people, because the Blizzard in each quarter didn't get past single digits. Because I'll read it again. First quarter, Massachusetts 14, Blizzard 7. Second quarter, Massachusetts, 20. Blizzard, 7. Third quarter, 7 for Pirates, 8 for the Blizzard. A little bit better, but not really good enough. Then the final quarter, 10 for the Pirates, and then 6 for the Blizzards. Just like they couldn't ever go past any single digit scoring whatsoever.
Yeah, no
Nope.
bueno. I'll be honest with you, just came out. Honestly, just seemed to come out flat that first half. Pretty much derailed any shot you could have had for a comeback. Massachusetts, I'll be honest with you, you got all the pieces that hitting their stride. The roster on paper is incredible, and we can. And I'm just talking receiving core. Jimmy Robinson's, of course, been a workhorse and a true bell cow by any football league standards when you're putting 1,000 yards
Yeah.
up in a league season, and especially even more so when it's a 50-yard game season. That's impressive numbers by itself. But again,
Definitely.
look, this is a roster that has Thomas Owens that has been dominant for several years. You know, Theo Redding, who really should be, honestly, all three of these receivers I'm going to mention should be on outdoor leagues at this point. Theo Redding and Isaac Zico, who I've been shocked has not gotten up to that spot. Again, it's not that Massachusetts has been dominant in the passing game all year. Really, the run game's been their bread and butter. But if you're going to hit your stride at the right time with the crew and cast you've got of veteran talent, it's the perfect time to bring these guys together. And again, Alejandro Benefield is no slouch of a QB. He's having a bit of a sluggish year compared to recent years, but hitting your stride at the right time. And it helps to have a Jimmy Robinson in your corner to help kind of mix up the gameplay a little bit. Again, defense has to commit so much to a guy that puts 1,000 yards up in an 18-game season that eventually, you know, some lapses in secondary coverage or linebackers maybe perhaps kind of diving down into that second level a little too deep might open up that middle of the field. And, you know, not saying that always happens, but I could definitely see where it happens. And I think getting hot at the right time, playoff stats show that very much so too. They're the hottest, they're the second hottest offense, slightly behind the Rattlers right now, postseason wise.
Yeah, and Jimmy Robinson, like, for rushing in arena footballs type of scenarios, it is rare, but it's like if you get over 100 rushing yards, which Jimmy Robinson did 108 yards and 2 touchdowns for that game. I don't have his receiving stats on my notes, but I think he probably did some, you would think. And it's just like, if you able to get your running back, like, I guess probably would be at least over 50 yards in an arena game, you're doing fine.
Yeah, I mean, Robinson, here's your other one, 33 catches, 35 yards. So again, contributes 143 total yards on his day. Very impressive stuff. And again, it's nice to have somebody you can dump off to. But again, you know, when we're talking Thomas Owens and Theo Redding both getting 5 combined touchdowns, and you have guys like Dar Carrington and Isaac Zuko who also can contribute as third and fourth options. Super vital to have options that can act and operate as high-profile guys in this sport. You know, hitting at the right time. Again, they're very 500-ish, you know, if hot and cold team all year, but sometimes you just hit your stride at the right time. Massachusetts is a veteran team. This is one that's been battle-tested for the playoffs. It's the right moment.
And like you said, when you have that stride hit at the right time, why not make it be the playoffs?
Yeah.
You know, this is the perfect time to make that push and make that run. And when you have a running game as solid as they do, that takes so much pressure off the quarterback. You know what I mean? And that's part of the reason why he's had a sluggish season, because he really hadn't had the ball too much. He's able to just turn around and hand it off, and it makes it easier for them to be rusty because you're not throwing the ball consistently. You're not having 17 to 25 pass attempts or more in a game when you have a cow horse like that, of a freaking truck that can just give you 1,000 yards on a 50-yard field in 18 games.
It's impressive stuff.
You know,
really.
It's very impressive. Exactly. So credit to him for making it easier for his offense to do what they're doing now.
Can we talk about?
Have a good chance of actually battle testing the Rattlers in this championship game. I really do.
Oh yeah. If you don't want, Zach is the most objective report. Hey, I'm just gonna slow. Chris Mason, he's like, I love when he jumps on stuff. I keep keep me in my keep talking, buddy. I love you. Can we talk about this Wizard performance, by the way? Like Max Mailer, what happened to you, bud? Two interceptions yourself. I mean, team was all over the place. Another 2 forced fumbles as well. I mean, just completely disastrous, and the most disastrous performance of the IFL postseason by far. You know, the laying of an egg is defined by that matchup 2 weeks ago, or sorry, by about a week and a half ago. Just being honest, 4 turnovers, disgusting is all I could say. And then to have the goal that your owner goes onto their podcast and rips into the team that just beat you down. What in the world is going on? No. That's a little too far. Sorry. Just gotta say, no place to be talking right now. But here we are.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, has the commissioner said anything about her interview?
Yeah, probably won't, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's kind of weird way of doing things. Okay,
because I was
by
looking
20, diss them, call them thugs. All right, whatever, no big deal.
Even I was looking through that. I'm like, okay, that's not good. Heck, if that was even said at NFL, hell, even if that was like in junior high level, that is bad.
Definitely, but politics are politics, huh? No matter where they're at.
Don't remind me. Politics and anything. Heck, don't get me started with politics, especially when it comes to high school football, especially with, we want this person on this position on the team, and you're like, he's not that great. I don't care who his dad played for. Go away.
Oh God. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no!
That type of bull crap.
Politics.
I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. We probably had that one guy that was like, "How is he on at this starting position for some reason?" It's like, just like, why that one guy?
This dude.
And then again, because with the championship, the IFL decided to do something new, and I'm kind of wondering, like, I'm not saying this might create a trend, if you will, but maybe something that other leagues might look into it a little bit later, because the IFL announced that they're actually going to have custom championship jerseys for the teams that are playing, and those jerseys are going to be auctioned off afterwards, game worn, maybe autograph. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to remember the final print of that, but what do you guys think of that? And do you think maybe it should be like something that other leagues, in any other sports, would probably think about for future championship games?
I like the custom jersey idea. I do like that. But auctioning them off, I don't. And the only reason why is because you take away that memory for that player. That custom jersey is made specifically for those two teams making it to the championship game. And if you win, you definitely want to keep that jersey. Now, if you're on the losing team, I would understand. But on the winning team, I would not auction off my jersey. I would want to frame it myself in my house. Say, hey, this is an accomplishment. I can look back 30 years from now and say, I did this. I was a part of that winning team. You know what I mean? So I don't fully agree on the winning team getting the, auctioning off their jerseys, but the losing team, I would understand. But I still think that both teams should keep their custom jerseys because they're getting custom made. You don't really see that in outdoor leagues or indoor leagues. You really don't. So take advantage of that memory, you know what I mean, by keeping it. Why give it away? Whether you autograph it or not, why give it away?
I like the opposing point here, honestly. Not too bad. And again, jerseys, those are, like you're saying, those are memories. Those are personal items for a lot of people in their careers, a lot of important stepping stones. Sometimes, this could be the only pathway an athlete has, and the championship, if you get to lock that down, maybe that's a symbolic thing. So I'm fascinated to see how this will go after this season. I know they're doing also all IFL team jersey auctions right now. And, I know that they've gotten some sold, some haven't, but I mean, I think it's another thing. They're trying to be creative and out of the box. That's what they're trying to do for the league. So I give them props for doing that. Cause again, it's trying to drum up interest. I can't knock him for that. I do, but yeah, good. Something I hadn't thought about, honestly, with the players aspect of this, and maybe something to keep an eye on. How much interest will you really get? Will there be player pushback? Good questions to kind of answer. Because I mean, look, these guys only get so much that they get monetarily. Can you at least get something back in return that that they're going to reproduce? Because some of these teams do reproduce these jerseys at the end of the year, depending on who you play for. Arizona in particular and Massachusetts definitely have those budgets to reproduce these. So we'll find out. I mean, maybe they make a separate copy. I'm not sure, but it is something to consider because, championship team probably wants to have possibly something to take back as a memento.
Yeah,
exactly.
So a way I think maybe any league could probably merchandise a little bit more because how like there's some type of limited run type of items, if you will, when it comes to either clothing, definitely in shoes, dear God.
Oh yeah.
Shoes and all that stuff like because you have these custom jerseys like have like a limited run, you get a lot of people to get them and stuff, and then maybe have some special ones that are like, well, we got this limited run, but maybe keep a small stack, have the winners of the game, the championship game decided, then have those auction off and all that stuff too. And I don't know, maybe it also just put it a little bit more extra for the separate place for those custom jerseys. The player chooses what charity they want, like a portion of those jersey sales go to that charity. I think that might not be a bad idea.
Would be too.
Or how about this? Do what the WNBA just did with their All-Star game, to where the WNBA All-Stars actually wore two different uniforms. Now, I wouldn't say do the two different uniforms, but have the teams wear, two of the same custom uniform, but just have them two. So that way they, the first half they wear one jersey, and then after the first half's over, they sign it and send it off for auction. They have a second jersey that you wear in the second half, and those players have a memory of that achievement or even that accomplishment of getting to the national championship game.
Could be a way.
So then you kill two birds. You kill two birds with one stone. You have a jersey that's actually worn in game and worn that will be worth some money one day possibly, and it's autographed by the player that wore it. And then you have a worn jersey in game that these players can take home as a memory and be able to say, I accomplished this. You know what I mean? Just thinking about that. Just came to my head.
I mean, look, again, out of the box thinking. That's something that you want to do here with this. And I think that that's not a bad way of approaching it too. What other incentive pieces can you add on to this to make this more than just hey, we're just giving this jersey out, or we're, the balance where it's like you get some merch or something to take home for yourself as a fan. The player then gets something where it's like, look, this isn't just us throwing your jersey to Wolves. I'm not saying that's what fans are or anything. I'm just telling you that, like we bring up this point, maybe they want to have something in return they can have back, or they're copying. So not too bad thinking. And it's something I could see an IFL thing doing. They've done kind of they do charity items like this from time to time, so not bad. And they've been trying to use their partnership through Dash as a way of doing a lot of this stuff. Including, like I said, the all IFL team jerseys. So you could definitely combine this and put this as like kind of synergies with your partners very quickly.
Yeah, because like for custom stuff, jerseys make sense. You could also say cleats probably make sense if they.
Cleats. My goodness, you could do a lot with cleats. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I know someone like a few years ago mentioned how like maybe they should do custom helmets. I'm like, that just takes a lot of while to produce to do the helmets if they ever decide to do a custom helmet type thing for that. But that just takes too long. Jerseys you can do pretty much a good amount of. Like that's simple to design, produce, and stuff. Helmets that takes a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
So jerseys, cleats, helmets. You can try it. I just don't think it's going to work. All right, we're going to take a little bit of break here. Then we're just going to talk a little bit of the Arena League, then do a little bit more deep dive into the IFL Championship here. Be right back.
Houston, We've triumphed. I've made it back to Earth with the cargo intact. The game-changing...
We're back. Sorry about that. The ad thing kind of jumbled on my fingers there for a moment trying to put it on. So like thankfully because of the bye week for the Indoor Football League Championship, of course we had another fledgling Arena Football League, the Arena League. It's a pretty fun league in my opinion. It's not good for kickers or linemen, but since there are no kickers and mostly for just a snapper, you need more of a long snapper to do all that. It's for their first year. It's kind of been good. I got a little bit of video showing how the championship went between the two new teams, of course. No Missouri teams out of the four that were there between the Duluth Harbor Monsters and the Iowa Woo.
There you go, the Duluth Harbor Monsters ending their first ever season on the highest of notes, winning the league's top prize. Good evening to you on this Sunday. I'm Dan Hanger. Thank you so much for being here. Neil Viersba's here on a Sunday with a look back at the highs and lows of the first Arena Mania.
That's right, Dan. It was like watching a game of chess. Obviously a little more exciting than that, but the constant back and forth scoring made the first ever Arena Mania one many will remember for a long time. The Harbor Monsters faced plenty of adversity over the course of the season, and it showed they could make plays in the big moments, including in the final onside conversion, which resulted in Duluth shutting down Iowa for good as they claimed the Arena Mania title 46-44.
Incredibly proud. We didn't give up. We kept making adjustments. We kept staying together as a family, and we executed. We came out and executed. That second half belonged to us.
From being in the snow in April to running GAT, hey, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. That's all I really gotta say, man.
So, like, it's kind of an interesting how would the league went throughout this year because, like, we know how some leagues have problems and like I'll just put here with the Kansas City Goats because I don't know if people saw this through previous episodes that I did because their arena's flooring had some type of weird thing going on, and they actually had their last two games, including their championship conference game, outside at a high school in Kansas City at St. Pius X. And I'll just say this, for how short they went, those two games actually were very successful attendance-wise and everything. I have to give them props for that and all that there. And congratulations to Duluth Harbor Monsters for winning Arena Mania 1. And if you want to talk about a team that, like, got hot at the right moment, they were 1-3. Then right before they started their 6-game winning streak, they cut 7 and signed 7 new players. That, I don't know, like, what's, like, the record for an arena team to sign, like, have signed during the season. 7 might be it. There could be more, unless you guys know that or not. And then somehow come in, be able to win in their home thing. Of course, the thing was, because how with the Vegas Knox having their championship game in Vegas, have a chance to play in their home crowd for the championship, this game was actually supposed to be in Kansas City, and they got a new arena for that championship, but then I guess because there was not any motion or any emotion between them for the local crowd in KC, they just last minute put in Duluth. But congratulations to Duluth Harbor Monsters. And also, too, before that video was cut off, Terrence Winslow, who was formerly of the Minnesota Mifflin Arena Football League, and how that whole thing ended. Congrats to him to be able to get out of that situation with a championship during this arena season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exciting. Look, exciting conclusion nonetheless. absolutely, again, you love to see a championship game kind of put the cherry on top to a season. And look, something that you kind of hinted at, Will, and I want to hear from Jersey as well, is that for a crazy year that it was, just following, we'll say it, the Arena Football League in particular, it's nice to see a new entity that a little bit of a spin on the things, not 100% my cup of tea, but it did its job. It entertained a lot of people, a lot of colleagues and friends I have loved it, and in particular, it finished the season with everyone intact. And as the league had put out in an official press release, on financially stable ground, and they got 2 teams coming in next year in smaller markets, but markets that they want to target, that they feel is best, which is the small market with little to nothing around to go to. And gotta say, I like what they did, honestly. For some of the faults and things that they had to work with and fix and work around, or changes to the championship like you just talked, I gotta give them props. Again, it's not always the easiest to complete a season without drama. So great stuff.
Right.
I'm just curious to see what happens moving forward. That's all I gotta say.
Me too. I'm very, very curious. But I agree. You got to give them props with everything that they went through, losing teams and the foldings of teams and just everything going on, all the controversy, to be able to finish the season out with a championship game and have a declared winner. You have to give them props for being able to get through a season and to be able to state that they're financially stable to have another season moving forward. You got to give them props. But like Zach said, I'm just interested to see how things go moving forward. I'm kind of disappointed that they changed it to Arena Mania and not the Arena Bowl and kept it the Arena Bowl. I don't understand. Are we turning into WWE here with with WrestleMania? You got Arena Mania. What's going on? You should have kept it Arena Bowl. It was a beautiful name. It was.
I think you might be
everything has to be a
confusing
bowl.
the AFL with the Arena League. Is what's happening here.
Okay.
It's
I
all
think
right.
I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
I think I
and
am
here's
because I
that-
did not watch the Arena League. I won't lie to you. I did not watch the Arena League. But again, for them to be able to make it through a season with everything that they've gone through, even the AFL, I'm interested to see what these indoor leagues do moving forward. I really am.
Always fun off seasons, aren't they?
Yeah,
No
because we
kidding.
know the IFL is going to be standing. We know the IFL is going to be standing and looking to expand. So it's going to be interesting to see what the AFL and the TAL does moving forward.
Yeah, because we have the IFL. Of course, they got, I believe, is it 1 or 2 new teams coming next year?
So they got the Fisher's Freight, and then
Yeah.
off the top right now. So if I, for example, I'm going to the 2025 teams list. So they used to have the Bucks, North Dakota Bucks, rebranded. That is my understanding. That's in limbo for next year. Columbus Wild Dogs, I have to reference because, but let's face it, there's little to no chance, from what I can tell, that they will ever play. I know that Todd Tryon has said that they are still wanting that market to work, but has also stated on the record publicly that it's an expensive venue in Columbus and there's no good alternatives in Columbus right now. So right now, looking like it's just the Fisher's Freight, unless there are new teams on the horizon. So one there in particular, the NAL is really the one that's doing a lot of the expansion gangbuster stuff with adding the AIF teams and possibly adding some more or less or staying the same. No one's 100% sure right now, but that's where we're at currently. The AFL just got to figure out what they're doing next year. That's really it.
Yeah, because
And
with the Arena League course, there are 2 new teams. Course, I got their logos here. You got the Eclair Jammers, kind of reminds me of like a hipster type of dude. It might hipster lumberjack combination type of dude, and then the team in Arkansas is kind of interesting because I'm not too sure of any mafia ties in Arkansas. It's kind of like the Hot Springs Wise Guys, kind of like a mix of a references to both the Godfather and the Goodfellas movies in a way to me, but it's kind of interesting. And
is
then
that a horse?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. A horse in a mafia suit. Oh wow.
I gotta say, if the TAL, the branding, it's the most unique I can think of. They follow the arena part of branding and wackiness to a T. So,
That's like BoJack Horseman in a mafia suit.
oh my goodness,
That's all
do
I
not
see.
put that image
That's
in my
all
head.
I see.
Yeah.
That's
And
all
then,
I
Oh my
see.
God.
I'm sorry.
and then you said the National Arena League course last week, and someone that you and I know, Zach Luke Miller, announced this pretty much on X, and that's of course the new one with the Shreveport Rougarou. I can't say with a good Cajun accent. And
Rougarou.
Rougarou.
That
It's
was
kind of like
terrible.
in a way,
too,
the
but-
way I saw it. It's kind of like a Cajun werewolf legend in a way. That's the best way I saw it. And we know how with the Arena Football League they try to do with Louisiana Voodoo, so at least we know Louisiana's going to have some arena football. It's like you just don't know when you add a arena team in the state, how does that go into the reaction to the other leagues? Because if I remember correctly, National Arena League they have 10, but there's rumor they might try to get 12. So, and then like you said, Arena Football League, we just need to see what they're going to do here. 'Cause
right. I mean, the AFL,
Has
they've got they got stuff to
Has
figure out.
anyone else
Personally,
heard? Yeah, they do. But has anyone else heard the possible rumor that the Omaha Beef may be going back to the IFL?
is that really out there?
I don't know. I seen it a couple weeks ago that the Omaha Beef were contemplating leaving the NAL to go back to the IFL, and I'm like, they just left the IFL to go to the NAL. So why would
And
they go right back?
So here's where I'm going to say that I think hell would freeze over if that happened personally. Just from what I've ever talked with people about with Omaha and all this, like when the CIF died, for those that are on here and aren't aware, that split, Omaha, Billings and company, like there's definitely divide in the way they do business. So I would be shocked if Omaha moved back up to the IFL. Also, because keep in mind, costs are lower in the NAL than the IFL. That's also for player pay, by the way, too. So they would have to expand on salary. And keep in mind, all these teams, very cost structured, even more conservative than IFL teams in terms of cost structure right now. Remember, they moved the nets, as well. So I don't know. I'd be shocked. And keep in mind, Omaha also gets to keep and are the big boys on campus still in the NAL. They are basically, they took over what the Sharks had in that slot. They essentially went, hey, give me the keys when they took over this last year. That's what they did. Them in Sioux City for the most part. So, I mean, if that rumor's out there, that's interesting, but I would think hell would freeze over if that actually happened and they brought all these teams on for them to just dip. But that would be something.
I agree. I figured that it was something to that nature. It's probably fake news, but I just had to, get to my insider guys, my AFL insider guys. You guys know
hey, if it's out there, I'm fascinated. That's all I gotta say. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, like I'm fascinated, like what location they get for the league, because like we mentioned for the Arena League, that's really small mid market type stuff because there's no netting, no kickers whatsoever. So they're like meant to play in those minor league hockey stadiums, or even smaller. Then of course everything else, it's like it's hockey still, but there's still room because they need those goalposts and all that stuff there.
Right.
And then, of course, locally for me, because St. Louis, you always wanted to know because it's in the middle of the country, but you got there because it's good not just for fan base but also location wise. And last week, and I won't show you because that whole minute thing, because we already have an arena that's already renovated with all new seating, new scoreboards, new heating, cooling, and replacing the roof as well. So I'm like, okay, that's something. It's just that. And the Arena Football League was close against St. Louis, but to the renovation that stopped. And unfortunately, that seemed like it was a good thing. And apparently, there was a rumor that the owner of that team was supposed to be also the owner of the Iowa Rampage, and luckily that didn't happen. So that was a
Yeah.
good thing that happened. So we'll just have to see, because I'm always fascinated, like, what's the new teams in any of the arena football world and just where it's located. Because I hope, like, has anyone got that West Virginia stadium, the one with the Rough Riders had a few years ago, or is that still empty with no team yet?
Well, that's where the Miners will play. So
Okay.
they'll play at West Banco. And that's more newly renovated from what I understand. So, and that's actually one of the teams I'm, in terms of most excited for a move up. The Miners definitely are the one that I am like very, besides the Fisher's Freight, they are about the same level where I'm like, hey, definitely a team that deserves to be moving up and playing in one of the top 3 bigger leagues in this space. They've got a good setup. Josh Resignalo as a coach, as a ownership type of guy, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm looking forward to see what they do now in what should be actual competition that is matching their level, rather than playing in the AAL2 to just kind of have a concept season essentially.
Yeah, so let's go down and break down the IFL championship. Of course, you got the Arizona Rattlers facing the Massachusetts Pirates. It's probably not what the matchup people thought, because I think people were thinking it would be Green Bay and Vegas, or of course you had the defending champions, the Bay Area Panthers, but now we got this, because this whole playoffs, like when it gets to playoffs, you just don't know what's going to happen. And now
You're
we
right.
got the Arizona Rattlers with their defense, and then Massachusetts Pirates with that offense with a high-powered running game.
Yeah, my goodness. Look, that's going to be, I think, one of the keys to this game, honestly, is if you're Arizona, and credit, this is a hot Massachusetts Pirates offense right now. Throw anything you've seen regular season out the window. This is not a hot and cold unit right now. This is right about matching you in production with veteran receivers. If you're going to win this game, and credit, I'm not saying that this is the ideal, perfect way of doing it. Can you make the run game one-dimensional and force it to where your secondary, your top 5 secondary in the IFL this year, has to be able to focus more so on those veteran receivers that can cause damage if Benefield gets time? That's what I think is going to be the defining factor. If this is a shootout game and both are kind of getting their way, it's really going to come down to last man standing, and I think it's an either or. But I think the defining piece of what could just flip the entire scale is if they somehow find a way to slow down Jimmy Robinson. That's really, for me, the case. On the other side, can Massachusetts get sacks? They've been getting some decent pressure this postseason. Can they find a way to get it on Dalton Sneed, who is incredibly shifty for a quarterback and can really do it all? Honestly, he matches what I consider is the ideal IFL QB. Someone that can find those empty lanes when the linebackers bail out in the secondary, but also can throw it from the pocket when those linebackers stay honest and are home. Tough task, but that's the Massachusetts way.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's the way Arizona, to me, walks away with it if they do walk away with this thing.
In my opinion, I agree to a certain extent. Massachusetts has to take the run game completely out, or Arizona has to completely take Massachusetts run game out, whether it's from the quarterback position or the running back position, because if not, they still never know when the ball is going to be passed. You still have to anticipate when the ball is going to be passed, because if you're stopping Jimmy but not stopping the quarterback, they still have a run game. Even if it's one-dimensional, they can still set up play action. They can still set up RPO. You know what I mean? So in order for Arizona to really get a dominant performance out of their team on the offensive and defensive side, that defense has to make that run game obsolete and turn this into a passing game for Massachusetts. Because if you look at these 2 past playoff games, which have been shockers for at least on my end, I didn't think they were going to get past Frisco, and then for them to get past Frisco and to get to Green Bay and just stop that whole blizzard and melt the snow. Because that's essentially what they did. They came through with their pirate ships. They took some cannonballs and melted the snow. Okay, they blew it all up and ruined the hopes and dreams of all those Green Bay Blizzard players. So if Massachusetts can continue to play the way they have been playing, and their defense plays stout and just lights out and quick. They have to be quick because Arizona's a fast team. Dalton Sneed can do a lot quickly as far as that RPO game. And it showed against Vegas 2 times this season. I can tell you, even the game that Vegas won earlier in the season, Dalton Sneed was a problem. That run game was a problem over there. That RPO game was a problem. And if Massachusetts isn't ready for Arizona's RPO game, it's going to be a long night for that Pirates defense. But again, in my opinion, Arizona has to make that run game obsolete, or Massachusetts can still be dangerous on offense.
Yeah, this game could go a few ways because, like, I am surprised, at least this season, I saw a lot of defensive games here, which honestly, we could possibly see this in this championship with how both these defenses play. Especially if that run game is stopped by Arizona, and then also the passing done over on the other side, which is possible then.
Yeah.
This could be coming up to the kickers. I know people might not like that, but it could. And then, as you could say, it's also, you could see, go to the shutout if they're able to stop both their defenses with their offense and run all over the place with both their quarterbacks. State has a better rushing with his legs than Benefield does, even though if he does, he has the better arm, in my opinion. Benefield does. So it's going to be quite interesting. And then we also have to take note too, is that I'm also kind of, because I haven't seen in a while. Maybe I missed it. Like, when was the last IFL return touchdown?
I don't know off the top of my head 100%. And interesting because return
Arizona
game
versus Vegas.
There you go.
The last return for a touchdown, the last kick return, last kick return was Vegas versus Arizona. Arizona got the kick return in that playoff game against Vegas.
That's right. That's right.
I think I remember it now because
that was Arizona's first touchdown, actually, or second touchdown of the game. That was their second touchdown score of the game. Actually, was a kick return.
They do have a pretty good return game, and that was also shown even with no scores against the strike force. They do get they consistently get past the 15-yard line, which is quite frankly, I mean, you got to be happy if you're any starting offense to get 15 free yards plus from a return group like that. They seem to pride themselves on it. And on the flip side, I know that it's not, the kickoffs are fascinating because you have some that will do pooch kicks, some that will do kind of just the squibs. Arizona's got it mastered with the pooch kick system, where their kickoff team does a fantastic job getting downfield, I've noticed. So, any yards as possible to make drives simpler are going to go a long way. Even though this will be pseudo a neutral crowd, I'm leaning that there's going to be more of a home feeling for the Rattlers, given the 5-hour distance is not too much of a challenge for not only for Phoenix folks, but for really any Rattlers fans that might be around the state of Arizona, just over the border.
Yeah,
and another thing in that Lee's Family Forum, Arizona has more comfortability in that stadium. They've played there 2 times in the regular season.
That's right.
And you got to also remember that scoreboard in the center of Lee's Family Forum becomes a problem sometimes. And Arizona has done a very good job on learning how to kick their kickoffs underneath that scoreboard. They've done a very good job on that and still getting it in the air, but kicking it underneath that scoreboard to where it doesn't hit the scoreboard and bounce in the opposite direction and throw off their returner or throw off the returner. And if they want to do that, they can, because when they go for those rouge, they're good at getting it down there and getting close to those rouge kicks. They really are.
makes me wonder about the possibility on how the deuce will be impacted. Anytime you have an obstruction up top, and this is go figure 50-yard game and special teams. It seems like we feel like we talk more on this than other outdoor ventures, but with that end of half deuce rule, keep in mind that's part of the reason why Massachusetts even here is they were able to get three deuces against the Frisco Fighters, especially second half, mind you. Obstructions are hard to kick around. Any kicker you talk to when it comes to arena or indoor, if you have a low hanging object like that and you have to try and curve the ball or you have to try and angle it, makes it so much harder to make this work. And kind of play it almost like baseball stadiums with arenas at that point, where it's like every arena's got its little quirks. Vegas happens to have, in this case, their own
scoreboard. Yep. Thank you, Lee's Family Forum. We love you.
So I am kind of curious to see, because I did see some during the playoffs this time around with the drop kits, because that's 2 points in the IFL. So I know the Blizzard have been trying to do the comeback. We might see that because both kickers are good for both teams. So it's kind of if they will ever do that with there, because get the drop kick, get 2 points, and didn't do a deuce, you got 4 points after the touch 6.
Yeah.
That's right,
I do
guys.
agree with you, Zach. I think Arizona has the home field advantage in this case. They play at the stadium more than Massachusetts does, or the arena. They play there more, and it's a shorter distance, so definitely.
Be ready for the dynamic kicking battle of Henry Neal versus Shane McInerney. You guys are going to be set for a barn burner. That's the way you're going to sell the IFL championship, which should still be called the United Bowl, by the way. Why did they get rid of that name? Why did they drop an excellent naming convention? I still am sour about that several years later, guys. I don't understand, but I don't call the shots. I'm not Todd Tyron. I'm not guys over in Grand Island, Nebraska. I digress. I'm just asking these questions is all.
Yeah, I don't know either.
To the indoor bowl.
That would work too. I would like that better than just calling it a generic championship. Well, I'll take that. I like that.
And the national championship on top of that. Is this college? What are we doing?
They don't have teams in Canada or Mexico, so what's with the national type of stuff?
Canada.
Eh?
Yeah. So, it's going to be an interesting game, though. Like I said, I think Arizona has more the momentum over Massachusetts. I will say, for Massachusetts making it to the championship, because I know they did catch a little bit of slack with that announcement for paying for post-game autographs and all that stuff for players, if people remember.
Oh, I almost forgot about that from the beginning of this year. Jesus. You had to bring that back up.
Fans really should not have to pay for that. So, and stuff I get if it was going to the players, I'll be sure. But if it's going to the team, it's okay, how much is actually the players getting out of that? So
if it's going to the team, if it's going to the team, then you make those. You do like Green Bay does. Allow the fans to own the team.
Hey,
if you're gonna do all that, you might as well allow the fans to own the team. Just saying.
That also would prevent the team.
It.
That would prevent a lot of teams from moving, in my opinion. So that's another thing that I would agree with that.
And
so I got Arizona
attendance.
Yep.
You may be honest.
Think about it. You'll sell out of a heck of a lot more in attendance, because these fans will be like, hold on, my money's involved with this. I'm gonna go support it.
Green Bay teams and fan ownership. It's a match made in heaven for some reason. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So I got Arizona more favorable with this matchup. Is that pretty much agreement? Do you think Massachusetts there's a chance Massachusetts could probably win here? Because I think probably Arizona has more better betting odds if I saw the odds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, this is tough for me because I like the hot hand Massachusetts has, and it's weird because this is a rivalry game. These two are kind of become a little bit bitter, and the fact that Massachusetts has had the last laugh recently in IFL championship / United Bowl history. Although regular season results have been a little different as of late for the Pirates. I'm gonna lean with the Rattlers. I'll be honest with you, though. Saying that with the caveat that Rattlers fans know that they have been cursed as of post 2017. So I will digress, but this will be to me the defensive type of IFL game. You can get offensive styles, you can get these shootouts. There's too many good defensive players on both sides of these rosters to where they will slow teams down. It's going to come down to who gets the most opportunities, and it's going to be a one possession game. It's I don't see this going to be a blowout. I got Arizona. I know, right?
I'm sorry, guys. As much as it pains me to say this, but I'm gonna have to take Massachusetts with the upset.
Okay.
I think Massachusetts can pull it out. I think they can. I think if they get Benefield and Jimmy going, it's going to be tough for Arizona. I think if they both can get going in the run game and passing game, and even Benefield and a bit of the the RPO action, I think it's going to be a tougher game for Arizona than people think. Even with the home field advantage vibe, even with that feel of having home field advantage, because this arena is in your backyard, you know what I mean, and you have the upper hand on knowing this stadium, this arena more than the Massachusetts players do. But I still think Massachusetts pulls out this upset, and I think they actually win by 10.
Ooh,
I
that's
see.
specific. That's going to be interesting. And honestly, I can't wait to see it. It's a good thing to see here on Saturday evening and bring 2024 indoor season then shortly thereafter. Off season for 2025. And honestly, you have no idea what's going to happen, especially in arena football world. Because remember, it's just signing players, and we'll hear probably more teams, and there is no draft. You have no way to do anything with a draft. So, thank you, Jersey and Zach, for joining me, and be sure to join us
Thank you for
here.
having me.
Join,
Thank you.
yep, and be able to cut.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, get your IFL championship tickets right now. You have only a limited amount of days to get them.